We ain't making any hay this week. It's gonna be a mix of a video, but I should probably show you what y'all clicked on the video for. So if you didn't know, I used to drive a 2007 6-liter Power Stroke. Don't get me wrong, I loved that truck, and I do miss that truck. One, because it was a diesel, had a 9-blade turbo in it, straight pipe, the thing screamed. A lot of people hated it. People hated me for it, but I liked the truck. I enjoyed it. Now it's a 6-liter. Had some engine issues at first when I bought it. Got the issues fixed. Didn't have any engine issues since. The engine part of the truck ran solid. However, it was a 193,000 mile truck, kind of a nickel and dime special. I would fix one thing, something else would come up. And the truck eventually started making a weird vibration, and it was kind of coming from the transmission area. Thought it was U-joints in a drive shaft. It wasn't that. Had a shop try to diagnose it. They couldn't figure out what it was. So I ended up parting ways with it and trading it for this truck. This is an 06 2500 with the 6-liter Vortec in. So I'd been looking for a new truck for quite some time. One of the reasons is I'm getting married, and my fiance and I have an apartment, and it's not out necessarily in the country, and I didn't really want that super loud truck, you know, disturbing the whole neighborhood. And so I wanted something a little bit quieter. I also wanted something with a crew cab, just because crew cabs are just better in my opinion. And so I really wanted it for space wise. Those were kind of my two, you know, stipulations. And so I was looking at Fords, I was looking at Chevys. Those are really the only two. I hate Dodges, even though we have a Dodge farm truck. It's the only Dodge I will ever drive in my life, unless it's a 12-valve square body. Anyway, I was looking for trucks for a long time. And I had been trying to sell the Ford actually back since the winter. And if you go back a few videos, I redid the bed rails on the Ford. And after that, I was like, shoot, this truck is too nice. I'm going to keep it. Then it had the problems. And then we ended up, again, looking for a truck. So traded this, like I said, 100% trade, no cash or anything. And I'm pretty happy with it. Now, it did need a couple things to get inspected. The inspection had run out when I got it. So it needed a couple things. It had rubber bands on it. I got rid of those. I hate rubber bands. So we ended up getting stock rims. My future father-in-law had stock rims that he gave me, and we put new tires on it. These are actually the same tire that I put on the Ford. They're Venom Power Terra Hunter XTs. A lot more usable for my application. Big knobby tires. They got a lot of traction and a lot of sidewall, so they ride a lot better, and they're just better for farm use. It currently still needs a new drive shaft. I was at the shop this morning, and they were supposed to put a new drive shaft in it, and they ordered the wrong one, and some pads and rotors it needed. So it needed a couple things to pass inspection and kind of get, you know, to operable condition. Other than that, though, the truck is clean. There's no rust on it. A tiny little bit under one of the wheel or fender flares back here, which is to be expected on a fender flare truck. Other than that, though, just really clean truck, really clean truck. It is a work trim, so to some people that might be, you know, a bad thing, but it's got crank windows, which I'm okay with, less problems. I got my 4-wheel drive on the floor, so manual, less problems. It's got a new head unit in it, so you know, it's modern. The AC blows nice and cold, and I put the new fancy headlights on it because the old ones were crap and were not very bright. So we got new headlights on it. They look cool. It's got cab lights on it, which I like. Overall, it's a pretty slick truck. So as far as what's next on the truck, we're gonna get the wheels polished, or I'm gonna polish them myself probably. And I do have the caps for them. I need longer lug caps. They're not long enough. They don't thread onto those lug nuts. That's really all that's left to do on the truck. I got the tank in it. Drives great, runs great. It's got an exhaust on it. I guess I will start it for you guys that want to hear it run. So let's see if I can do this one-handed and something like this. It's kind of a crappy exhaust. Plus a little white smoke, actually. It's got like a bad valve seal, I think. So I do have to fix that yet, but other than that, truck runs pretty good. That's what it sounds like. So, no more Ford, no more whistle. But we got a good truck to replace it. Kind of just a slow part of the year right now. Not making hay, waiting for stuff to grow. The next go around will be this alfalfa here. That's the last hay we made, and it will be the next hay that we make as well. So I'm getting married in like 3 weeks, which is exciting. And I'll be away for 2 weeks on a honeymoon. So this alfalfa is the last hay that we're gonna make before that. And then when we get back from our honeymoon, or when I get back, It's going to be kind of a mad scramble to get all of our second cutting grass made. So I don't do more than 2 cuttings typically of grass. I don't see, for me, there's no benefit in trying to make a second cutting right now and then getting a third cutting later in the year. I'd rather let the second cutting grow, get really thick, as tall as it can, not like first cutting headed out, but like a good solid second cutting, and then let it get, you know, at least a foot of regrowth going into the winter. That's what I like to do. I feel like it's just better for the plant, the longevity of the stand. So when we get back from the honeymoon, there's gonna be a lot of hay to make, be a mad dash, and then as soon as we're done making hay, we'll be into soybean harvest, and yeah, we'll be busy into November. So it's gonna be busy, but right now it's slow. So I'm trying to do some organization here, get some big bales moved around. This is all meadow grass here. This was a stack of just miscellaneous stuff. I had 6 alfalfa grass bales. I had 3 like steer bales, and then I had 6 good grass bales here. These were the first big bales we made from the season. It was a 1 acre field of meadow grass. Same day we baled or small baled that. I was gonna small bale this too, but I just ended up big baling it because I didn't really feel like dealing with any more small bales that day. So we big baled that, and it actually is still pretty green. I was a little bit worried it was gonna be too tough. It smells good. So it'll be a good feed there. Has a little bit more weeds than this stuff did, but it's greener. So I kind of just stacked 3 of them over here, including this really oblong one. It's actually really long. It's like a 9-foot bale almost. I don't want to move these 3 yet though, because this meadow grass stack is like stacked up against it. And if I move these, the stack is coming down. So I am probably just gonna let those sit there for the time being, and they might just stay there for a long time. Changed my mind. Decided to put them there because that's somewhat out of the way. I'll get the baler in here like I had it, and I can get the baler in the 966 in here, and that was kind of dead space. So put that there. That way I can fit the AGCO there, and I can park it in the barn here. Next up on the list, we're gonna get this thing running, and we got the carb rebuild kit for it. So we're gonna go through and rebuild the carb properly. We did like a temporary fix on this thing a month or 2 ago. There was an O-ring here that seals off the main needle, I think. I'm not a carb expert, so don't judge. But there's an O-ring in here that was completely shot, and that's what was kind of letting fuel seep through. So we pulled that O-ring out and just tightened the nut up against the housing. Worked for a little while, but now, or last time we were running this thing, or Dad was running it, he said it was sputtering out on him again, doing the same fuel issue. So we're gonna get this carb rebuilt properly. Hopefully I don't have any more issues with it, because it's pretty frustrating when this thing does that sputter thing that it does. Lights came on, that's good. Should probably put you there. Oh, I don't want to kill her yet. Got it. Got the carb off the tractor. It's really easy. Take your fuel line off, take your intake hose off, take the 2 bolts off the intake manifold off. You got to pull your throttle cable. Actually, this is your choke cable. Yeah, choke cable off. That's just a flathead screwdriver. And then you pull your throttle cable off. You just pull a cotter pin out. And that's all you got to do to disassemble it. Now, we got the carb kit here from Steiner, I believe. I forget if this is the basic carb kit, or I think they might have only had 1 carb kit for the Marvel Shebler. We got the carb kit there. They send you a free catalog, which is actually nice when you have an older tractor. It's really simple to at least go through and see you know, if they have the part that you're looking for. So I like having their catalog. Here's why I love shopping Steiner. Look what they put in the bottom of this box. Cowtails. Dealers, tractor dealers, equipment dealers, if you are listening, put a little something extra in the boxes, guys. It'll make farmers smile. Farmers, we deal enough with a bunch of bullcrap, and paying extreme prices for parts is just not something that we like to do, but sometimes we have to do it to get that part in a timely manner. So do a little something extra for farmers, please. It goes a long way. All right, everything's back together. Air intake hose is on. Things are bolted on. I got my choke cable hooked in here and here. I got my throttle cable back there. You can see there's a cotter pin, shiny thing right there that holds it into this doohickey here. And we got our fuel line back on here. And you can also see we got two new gaskets that I put in. The main gasket on the main body here, and then this gasket between the carb and the intake itself. So replace those two gaskets, and then there is a gasket on the inside in there that I had to replace as well. And yeah, we'll fire up and see if she works right. On second thought, I just made a stupid mistake. I forgot a piece. Forgot to put this back in. So that means I gotta take this whole thing apart that I just put back together. Shoot. All right, now it's back together. And if it starts, then we know that we at least put it back together right. We won't really know if it's properly fixed until we run it for a while. And yeah. So let's go. Let's give her a crack here. Maybe we can get her right here. Right. Okay. Come on, Jeff. There we go. We're gonna let it warm up for a while. It's gotta charge that battery. That battery was so dead and barely got it running up at the barn, so we're gonna let it charge for a while. I'm gonna do something that someone told me to do a long time ago, and that is when I'm done with it, is pull the negative cable off. So hopefully that should definitely keep it from draining the battery, right? I kicked around the idea of putting a disconnect on there. There's really no point in putting a disconnect if the battery is right there. I mean, I can easily just pop that cable off. I have that nut just tight enough that when I gotta wiggle it on the negative terminal, but I don't need to like keep a wrench with me, and it's loose enough to where I can just wiggle it off. So I'm just gonna do that for the time being, and then in the winter time, we'll try to actually track down what's actually draining the battery. So I need to load up a load of grass hay here. It's the next day since we did the carb work on here. So we're gonna see if this thing fires up. Disconnected the battery. Should have enough charge to fire because we took it for a spin yesterday. So let's see if this worked. I hope it did. We got juice. Oh yeah, that works. So we kind of got a little update on the Chevy here. I mentioned yesterday it has some blue smoke, white smoke when I started up. Well, yesterday I changed the oil in it because my original assumption was that it was a valve seal on the valve stems and in the valve train. That was what I was thinking. I was like, well, I guess one of the seals is bad, oil seeping down through into the combustion chamber, and it's burning the oil when it starts up every time. Well, now I changed the oil yesterday and I put a little bit heavier weight. I put 1030 in instead of 530 to see if that would help fix the seeping issue. Well, it made it worse, and now it's to the point where it will not fire up on the first crank, and it puffs a ton of white smoke out now, and idles rough, and it's puffing smoke for a while until you drive it for a while, which means it has the crappier driver's side valve cover. Did some research and came to the conclusion that it's most likely the PCV valve on this truck. Now here's the thing, this is a 2006 Chevy, so it's a later model. So there's your valve cover, and you can't really see it, but that line right there, that's your PCV line. It goes back to the PCV valve right there. Wish it wouldn't focus on my finger, but right there is your PCV valve. On the early model 6.0s, the earlier Silverados and stuff, that had a serviceable PCV valve. So I could literally pull the hose off, I could pull the old valve out, put a new valve in, and most likely problem solved. Well, this one I cannot do that. It is built into the valve cover, which means I have to replace the whole valve cover. So the valve cover is on this truck and on the later 6.0s. I think it happened in like 04 or 05 or something is when they changed it. They put a different design valve cover in. And basically in that valve cover, there's a passageway to let the crankcase gases into the PCV valve. Well, the early models never really had problems because the passageway had like drain points in it for oil to drain out, because, you know, it's a passageway. You got your rocker arm sitting there slinging oil everywhere, so they put drain points in that kind of passageway so the oil could drain out. Well, the newer style either had no drain points, or I know it had a bigger hole for like gases to get in, but oil was getting in there. The drain points weren't good or something. So basically what's happening is that passageway fills up with oil, clogs your PCV valve, and now your crankcase gases can't go back into your engine to be, you know, burnt off. Instead, you end up burning oil and oil consumption, all that crap. And this truck's doing it really bad. I just drove it up here to the barn here like 5 minutes ago, but I'm gonna start it up again and show you what I mean about smoke. Starts rough. Well, now that time it didn't puff too much smoke, but it started rough. Shouldn't be doing that, right? So, yeah, pretty sure we got a PCV valve problem. I'm gonna put a quick video in right here. This is the video I took last night, and this was the third time that I had started the truck up in 5 minutes. I kept turning it off, turning it back on to try to understand like what's going on. So I have a new valve cover ordered. I was thinking about getting the Dorman one because I can run to the parts store and get it right now. But there was a few kind of crappy reviews on it. They aren't as nice as the genuine GM ones. So I ordered a genuine GM updated valve cover. It is updated because it has the bigger hole with the baffles around it to kind of prevent oil from getting up in that hole. And it's got drain points through the passageway in the back of it. So yeah, hoping that comes relatively soon. It's not a hard job to replace this. You just got to pull the coil packs off, pull some wires out of the way, take the cover off, put the new one on. So it's a pretty straightforward job, and it has a new PCV valve built into it. I wish they would make it serviceable, but it's not. So anyway, that's where we're at with that. Yeah, I really just have terrible luck with vehicles, if I'm being honest.